Hey, what's up? How's the gain on that? Welcome to Musicians Movie Club. This is Dan Stewart.
This is Tommy Kessler, and I know how to use a microphone.
He certainly does, folks. And also people who know microphone and also speak English are two members of the Trenchies who are with us today. Go ahead and introduce yourself, folks.
Hello, I'm Andrew Pridmore from the Trenchies.
Hello, I'm Logan from the Trenchies.
Andrew, you're in a couple other bands.
Yeah, I'm also in The Hustle and Yada Yada. Shout out to both of them.
And they're on Musicians Movie Club today to talk about one of their collective favorite films, Evil Dead from 1981, directed by Samuel Raimi. I don't know legally if that's his name or not, but...
Doesn't matter.
You'll hear from his lawyers.
Yeah. And as with every episode, we have a cocktail prepared for this particular film.
Yes, which I will explain. It's called and I'm going to butcher this, Necronomicon, which is the name of the Book of the Dead from Evil Dead 2. We got some mezcal. We got some Campari. We got some lime. We got some Cointreau. And some motherfucking grenadine.
Motherfucking grenadine, there is. And it's a delicious beverage. Thank you.
Yeah, if I may say so. Thank you, Tommy. Absolute banger of a cocktail.
It's sweet on the front end, and then it gets a little dry from that Campari on the back end. Like the flavor is dying. Not in a bad way. like this. No, the sweetness is dying, decaying. Like the dead people in Evil Dead 1981, directed by Samuel Raimi.
That's exactly what I meant.
Why, Andrew, did y'all pick this film?
Well, the journey to picking our movie was a very long one. But actually, I think Logan might be able to explain better.
I mean, it was just the most recent film that we saw when you asked us. But I also really, really, really like it. Like, it happened to be a favorite of mine that I did just watch, like, a week or two ago. That's a big one.
We're already, like, abandoning the general concept of the podcast.
Well, it's too hard with two people, you know?
No, that's cool. I mean, like, if you guys both love it, then that's...
Yes.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah.
And I love the trilogy as a whole also.
Yeah.
My thoughts on Evil Dead. Great film. 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Great. So we're actually watching it. It's playing in the background, just the visual of the movie. And one thing I wanted to bring up is when she's scribbling in the book, how much it looks like she's drawing SpongeBob. Anybody else catch that?
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to get that off my chest because it distracted me so much for like 10 minutes. I was like, was that SpongeBob? I know he didn't exist yet.
Instead of join us, it's like, are you ready?
No, I didn't get into Sam Raimi until fairly recently, and it was, I always liked the Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite movies, and then I went back and rewatched a bunch of his stuff before the new Doctor Strange came out, and this was one of the ones that I hadn't seen in a while, so I was happy to watch it again last night. Hit way better a second time for some reason. I think the first time, I was just like, oh, the effects are cool, but like nothing really happens in it, which I don't know why I cared about that. Plots are overrated and stupid. So it was nice watching it.
What a take.
What a take. You don't need plot. That's like the least important thing to a movie. Do you have any comment, Dan?
What a take. You can have a little plot as a treat.
Just enough to get the people who need plots going. But like 2001, what happened in that? Nothing. Or everything.
2001? 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yeah, what happens in that?
So in that one, there's some monkeys. And the monkeys...
Tell me the plot, Dan.
Okay, so this is the plot of 2001: A Space Odyssey, not Evil Dead. This is some monkeys are hanging around, and then a big alien stone shows up. It's a stone, but it's also an alien. It's an advanced
monolith.
Alien
monolith.
question mark, right?
Alien question mark?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, sure. I get you.
I can keep talking about Sam
I
Raimi
get
if
it.
you want.
I get it. The big block shows up, and it's like doing some weird stuff, and then the monkeys are like, I'm gonna commit murder. So they find a...
I love how we're like 5 minutes into the movie. We still have 2.5 hours to go.
And so a monkey commits murder, and then spaceships happen. Go on.
Yeah.
So that's the plot to 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick. Came out in 60-something.
8.
Hey, thank you. Do you actually know that?
Yeah, so actually, I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey instead of Evil Dead. So like, I'm really glad the conversation looped around this way, or else I would have been fucked completely. If I can swear, can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
Cool.
do what you got to do. It's a Christian podcast, but cool Christian. So.
Talk about that youth pastor.
Oh, that was a callback. Way to go. The extended Musicians Movie Club universe has a lot to do with my youth pastor. Oh, Rob. So Multiverse of Madness came out this year, and I thought it was great. Most people didn't, but I was really excited that Sam Raimi was like doing something for the first time. I think, did he do something after Spider-Man 3? Does anyone know?
The Great and Powerful Oz.
Oh, The Great and Powerful Oz.
He did that in like one horror movie, I think, that I don't even remember the name of. But he did Oz for sure, right?
Drag Me to Hell was the one.
Oh,
Drag Me to Hell was the one that I forgot. Okay.
Blockbuster classic. Drag Me to Hell.
I like Sam Raimi. That's all I was trying to get at. I'm going to pass the microphone.
Yeah, he's good at movies, and this one is one that he was good at doing.
It's been really nice talking to you.
In summary, my first experience watching this was probably something like 8 to 10 years ago, and I think at the time I was not really into it because it is very simple. You know, like I was expecting like fun twists and turns and mysteries and things, but this is really just a visceral film. Like,
It's an excuse to be gross. Just an excuse to be gross.
it's
And I love it. I love that.
yeah, it's a lot, and like it's a kinetic movie. Like I was really watching the camera work in last night when I was watching it. He goes in such weird places and puts the camera in just strange perspectives. And he's shaking around and jumping and moving, and I really love it because it's such an obviously like low budget indie production, and it really just contributes to the whole effect of the film, which is just, like I said, visceral, bloody, in your face, nuts, and that's really cool. Like, I guess my opinion has come a long way because I know that, and watching this in other times since then, I was still kind of like working up to it, and this time I feel like I really appreciated it a lot more. It also is just structurally so nuts because like the big turning point scene, which is the trying to put this in a light way. The
tree sequence.
The tree sequence, the trequence, if you will. The trequence is like the main memory of this, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like the first time seeing this, being like, "I don't know about this," and then the rest of the movie is bonkers bananas, and it just goes, it puts his foot to the gas. So
yeah, so
Yes,
I also saw this movie like many years ago. I don't even remember how old I was, but I just remember like being a small kid even, and like knowing this movie existed, and it was always like the gross. It's like the bloodiest, the grossest. And when like you're 9, you're like, sign me up for that. And give me more of that. I don't remember how old I was when I finally saw it, but I kind of had in my head that reputation of like that it had back in the 80s of like, you know, video nasties and all that stuff. Like people thought this was like literally a smut film, and like that was like the, you know, like the reputation it had. So I don't remember how I felt in that regard when I saw it as like a teenager, but I just know I liked it because I didn't really expect anything, you know. So the fact that it was like a super straightforward story with just like all these like visual effects gags and stuff, like I was all in for that. And I think now watching it, being older and stuff, English literature.
You're getting your point across. That's all language has to do.
Being older, like now, it's like this movie, I think it's so much funnier than I thought it was when I was a kid. And also I've probably seen the sequels a lot more, which are like actual straight up comedies. So the first time I saw this, I thought it was just a straight horror movie, and I think you can definitely read it that way. But like now there's stuff where like I can see it as just like kids making a movie basically, and like stuff that is like actually like pretty funny, like the over the topness, because, and we can get into more of this stuff later. There's a line where like Ash says to Scotty something about like, you knew you were going too far, like you can't take like you knew like something about going too far, and then the rest of the movie proceeds to go like way too far with everything,
pus and squishing people's eyes and shit.
Yeah, and like so I thought it was a very like self-aware and funny kind of thing. So I think this movie has more self-awareness than I thought when I was younger. And I can quit rambling now on Logan, because Logan's probably the only person here that didn't see it a long time ago. So like this is fresh for you.
It is fresh. I personally give it 4.5 on Letterboxd.
Oh shit! Whoa!
But it might change to 5, to be honest, because I do really like it. I mean, it checks off a lot of boxes for me. I feel like this genre, for me, can be pretty tricky to, I don't know, scratch the itch that I have, and like stuff like, I mean, even in the basement scene when they have like the ripped poster that's The Hills Have Eyes, that's probably a little homage. Like, to me, that movie, it wasn't really it for me. And this has like a lot of elements of like, I mean, you don't really feel like you're in one place the whole time. You're not constantly reminded that this is one like shitty cabin that's like 200 square feet. Like, it feels very big. Like, it feels like there's a lot going on in this one space. And you know, I like survivor movies a lot, and it has a lot of that like element where everyone's getting picked off one by one, and who you predict is going to be the survivor is not the one at all. You think that it's going to be the girl kind of at the beginning who it sort of narrows in on, and then it's this like goofy weird guy. And I don't know, that's personally why I really like it.
Yeah, no, just the fact it's unexpected. I mean, again, plot's fairly straightforward, but unexpected in terms of what you were talking about. And also just like the lengths to which it goes to be violent. Andrew, like you were kind of saying, there were just some moments where I was watching it and I forgot, like, some of it looks pretty real except for when it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do some research on this because, like, when did movies start using darker colored blood versus red paint? Because that was one thing I noticed. I expected it to be like very garish, like Italian horror sort of vibes, but there are like moments where I was like, oh, that pencil is actually going into their ankle.
Yeah. Well, that
one hurt.
So like I know that the blood was like maple syrup, chocolate, and like and food coloring, I think. I just watched a video on this. I'm not a genius, but and the ankle thing was like, 'cause that's probably like one of the grossest things in the movie, even though it's like in terms of scale like one of the smaller gross outs, but like probably the most visceral. Like, you can imagine a pencil digging into your Achilles, tendon and wriggling all around in there. It's pretty horrific. But that was a prosthetic like foot. Like, there was her real foot was on her left, and then the right was a prosthetic one. They actually stabbed the shit out of, whatever that is, and it's super gross. Yeah, don't like that.
I don't like trauma to the appendages.
No, I can do without it.
Well, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a favorite? I was gonna say kill, like, violent moment.
Oh.
Because I know mine, but if you guys want to think about it, I can go.
You go first.
Because it's also my favorite shot in the movie, or favorite like sequence. There's a part toward the end where it's like the guy that's not Ash. I don't know any of the names.
I think it's Scotty.
Scotty, thank you.
I was usually so bad with this. I'm like totally on top of my game right now.
No, you're good.
Scotty, Cheryl, Linda.
I'm pretty sure it's Scotty's head falls off, but the camera like sort of not mounts to his head, but like follows his head falling off. Keeps cutting between Ash's eyes, watching his head fall off, to following the head as it hits the ground and explodes.
Yes,
it's my favorite. I love that part.
Well, my same like sequence. I love it when the demon hands come out of like the stop motion sequence.
Yeah,
that's like right around the same thing, right?
Yep.
When all the bodies are deteriorating and going back to hell, I guess. Like, and then all these like puppet, like, they're like these like stop motion bodies or whatever, and then very real like human arms come out with claws. And that's super messed up. I love it. It looks so gross because everything's just like weird Play-Doh at that point. Yeah, I like that.
We're getting to the trequence now in our current watch of this.
That happens so much sooner than I thought. Like, it feels like an hour into the movie, and then it lasts an hour. But
sure does. Do you guys have favorite kills in the horror genre at all? I'll kick it off with one of my faves. I'm a big Friday the 13th fanatic.
Nice.
I'm a Jason head, if you will. And in Jason X, which is the movie where Jason goes to space, which is a fantastic film, because you'd think like, wow, that's really stupid and cheap, but no, that movie's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
David Cronenberg is in it.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he very
Why?
briefly. He's chilling. And there's a scene where like they have a surgical, like an operating room, and there's like a little sink that's filled with like liquid nitrogen. It's like a cryogenic sink, and Jason is being like operated on by a doctor, and then he wakes up as you do, and then he takes her and puts her face in the cryogenic stuff, and then smashes her face into the like table. So it's like she becomes like a red slushy.
Oh my
It's
God.
like it's fucking crazy.
Picture that exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta watch Jason X now. Like that's.
Oh yeah. Everybody watch Jason. All right, this is a Jason X episode now.
Actually, I watched that in preparation also. So. Do you have a favorite?
I don't know. I don't know. There's
Logan,
too many.
You don't seem like a big horror guy to me.
I honestly, I'm not. I feel like everything I'm thinking of is very campy and possibly more comedic than horrific.
Do you think this movie is going to get you to watch more horror, having enjoyed it so much?
Not necessarily. I mean, I feel like I've seen a lot. I'm not sure what would be left. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good one. Like in the horror genre, I'm not sure what new like
Classic.
venture, classics I could.
I'm a big dork about it. Like,
Yeah.
so like especially franchises like Friday the 13th.
Gremlins?
Sure, the new batch. There are like 13 Friday the 13th movies, and there are like 13 or 14 Halloween movies. There are 10-ish. Don't quote me on these numbers. I can't think of it all. If I counted them, I could count them, but I'm not
All
gonna
the
do that.
Alien movies?
Those are great,
Yeah,
yeah.
Alien, Chucky,
I like the
Hellraiser,
George A. Romero
Yeah.
zombie movies.
Yeah. Romero zombie movies. There are so many. And then there's all the like one-off ones and like weird things like Chud. I don't know if you've seen Chud.
Ain't seen Chud.
It's like
Sounds super familiar.
I don't forget what the C stands for. It's an acronym. Humanoid underground dweller. It's like yes.
So that's not a sequel to the Paul Newman movie HUD.
No.
Okay.
Well,
Double check it. Maybe.
let's get a fan theory going.
Tweet the movie podcast.
Also, like I got really into watching random B movies on Tubi. You know.
I'm on the same wavelength right
Yeah.
now. Same. Have you?
By the way, we're sponsored by Tubi TV. Tubi TV, it's free. There are ads for some things, but it's free, and they got so much stuff on there. There's probably a few Tom Cruise movies in there, if that's what you're looking for.
There's between not to hijack your thing too much, but Tubi and free movies on YouTube. There are so many good movies between the two of those. Like honestly, and the ads like. I don't even get ads on Tubi most of the time. And on YouTube, you get like one ad break. Like you get a couple towards the beginning, and it knows like once YouTube knows that you committed, like they stop giving you ads. Like I swear on these movies. So
All right,
you
he's
get-
a real one. Stop giving him the ads.
Yeah, like I mean, it feels that way because like I'll get a 2-minute one at the beginning. By the time you're in the third act, no commercial breaks, even if it says it on the timeline.
You're
I
listening to a
digress.
DIY podcast right now, like and we got DIY ethics. Tubi and free YouTube movies. This is the way to go. Cut off your cable. No more Netflix. Tubi TV.
I mean, you can't even watch Doll Man on Netflix, okay?
Dude,
Like,
Dollman.
Dollman's so
yeah,
good.
so you're into... Okay. Sorry, we're way off topic.
I also don't think Jeff Tubi praised Elon Musk like the Netflix guy did, so...
Jeff Tubi is
I
actually
don't know
my
what his
uncle.
name
I'm a
is.
shill for Tubi.
Anyway, Dollman. Full Moon Features. Trancers. You seen
Yeah.
Trancers?
No.
Oh,
But-
man.
I'm just getting into who's the guy that directed Doll Man? He just
Charles
died.
Band?
No, it's like Albert something. He made Arcade. Arcade is a great. While we're off topic, Arcade is a great 1990 movie that's like basically it rips off Tron.
Oh yeah.
It's like if Goosebumps made a Tron episode, but it was a feature film movie starring the adult version of the Christmas Story kid, and written by the guy.
sick.
It's like the first script of the guy that wrote the Dark Knight trilogy. So this guy went on to make the most bankable, shit ever. But he wrote Arcade, and it's really bad and weirdly depressing.
David S. Goyer.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, he wrote Arcade. And,
Sick.
It's fun. I just wanted to sound like I knew a guy.
Tommy knows guys. Yeah, go back from
Okay.
favorite film.
Okay, so favorite horror franchise for me would probably be the Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, those movies. And I think what's crazy researching both those and the Evil Dead franchise is like they have like the exact same narrative basically, where it's like not California, like middle of nowhere, like college friends like getting together to like make a movie and like convince whoever they can who like owns a local business to like steal their money and make a movie with it. Because that's basically what Evil Dead is, and basically what Night of the Living Dead was, and then both were actually distributed by the same guy, like coincidentally, and became like drive-in movie theater hits, like super influential. Like Night of the Living Dead probably more so, but and then 10 years later they made a sequel that no one wanted to make because they needed money. So. And I don't know. I think both are very endearing and made by people that love movies, and you can tell, like when you're watching it, like these people just love movies a lot,
Yeah.
And I like it.
Yeah, like I said, didn't get into Raimi until recently, but to talk about Multiverse of Madness more because I do think it's underrated. I'm just gonna keep plugging Marvel. They don't get enough coverage. It was wild. Like there were shots from Evil Dead that I remembered from Multiverse of Madness that he borrowed, like some of the weird POV stuff and. Even the shot of like the head falling off. There's a shot in Multiverse of Madness where it's like following a demon's head as he's like attacking Doctor Strange and weird shit. And I'm just like, that's crazy that this many years later, Raimi can do like the biggest budget movie, one of the biggest budget movies ever, and still have that sensibility and do it well. I think speaks a lot to his talents and also his ability to just trust himself on what he thinks is cool and do it. So it was cool seeing his first movie and then his most recent one. Is this his first movie? Yeah. Yeah, okay. I want to make sure there wasn't anything weird before this I didn't know. And, like, not that much has actually changed. Like, there are even gross moments in Multiverse of Madness. Like, a dude's head explodes at one point, and that was in a PG-13 movie. I was like, this guy's awesome.
Well, I don't have a favorite movie kill, but I do have a favorite movie callback. I don't know if you guys caught this in the first watch, but there's a moment in the beginning of the movie where Ash gives his girlfriend a necklace, and when she comes back, you caught this? Yes. I
think I caught this.
When she comes back into the room, he pretends to be asleep, and every time she looks at him, he closes his eyes again. And then later, when she's possessed and he's trying to bury her, but she's still alive, he looks down at her and she closes her eyes. And when he looks away, she opens her eyes. And, like, it's the same bit. And that, to me, is like, yeah, there's, it's silly and it's goofy and it's gory, but, like, that's just
Like
about as tight as a script. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
That to me was like when it added so much legitimacy.
Yeah, this is kind of related. Another thing I noticed is that toward the end when her necklace is sitting on the ground, the chain is in the shape of a skull. Did anyone notice that?
I did not notice that.
Yeah. I'm like, they spend probably so much time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I thought that was nice.
Wow.
Well, on top of that, like, there's a lot of stuff, like, because this movie is super stylistic, right? The POV shots and the Dutch angles, like, everyone thinks of those probably. But, like, there's some sequences in this where, like, they're just super slick, like, camera movements that don't really, like, draw attention to themselves. Like, even, like one shots that don't really, you might not even notice, like, super long takes. But also, like, the sequence where they throw Cheryl in the basement, in the cellar. Like, there's the shot of them, like, closing it with the chain, and, like, it just follows, like, basically that whole scene just follows the guy's hands, like, locking her in. And, like, I don't know, I just thought that was very slick. I don't really know how to articulate how, but to me, it's, like, kind of like a Spielberg kind of thing, And I'm going to interrupt myself because in the movie in the background, Ash just got thrown into a bookcase.
I wanted to talk about furniture smashing.
Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Well, Evil Dead 2 has so much of just Ash getting thrown into furniture, throwing himself into furniture, the plates. Yeah. This movie didn't have enough. Bruce Campbell, I mean, he gets hurt a lot, but not as much as the second one.
I would like to, because the reason I pointed this out was because that is the first of 2 or 3 bookcase. Like that same bookcase falls on him like 2 or 3 more times in this movie, and that's where I was like, they have to know, like, because they know they did that, when they're shooting this. But I thought that was really funny. That like there's twice where he's like put out of the action because the bookcase has fallen on me.
I'm just glad that Raimi hasn't ditched Bruce Campbell getting hurt. We got to the thing you were talking about with the hands and the chain. Yeah, it's awesome. It's so kinetic and like you're in the moment. Because I'd be panicking too trying to do that, and it has the shakiness, and you're freaking out.
Actually, when I watch horror movies, I just think about how I would know how to do everything correctly. Like these idiots don't know what to do. Sorry, I cut off your thing. I'm sorry. Oh, you did.
No, it's you're right. It's a very interesting note how like he uses everything to make the space feel bigger than it is, which I think is really cool because it's just like a room. Like most of this movie happens in a room, but it does not feel like it.
Like they made basically 2 movies and a couple episodes of the TV show like revolve around this. There's like it's kind of confusing the layout of the cabin because I feel like sometimes like how many rooms are like really in this thing? Like there are like weird hallway and room like connections, and someone will walk in one door and you think that's the door they walked in, right? And they go back through it and it's not the same. It's like the bathroom now. It's kind of weird.
That's very The Shining.
Yeah.
Here he goes.
I was literally going to say it's like The Shining. That was it. It's my favorite movie.
I've never...
You haven't seen it?
I'm kidding.
What?
I've seen The Shining.
Jesus.
Ways to trigger Tommy.
I thought it was bad.
Stephen King.
Face reveal.
Yeah.
I've been Stephen King the whole time. This is the most ferocious original movie I've ever seen. The whole quote on the poster from Stephen King. That's what he said about Evil Dead.
Really?
They attribute a lot of the box office success to Stephen King being like, this is... He said in like 1981 terms that this is bussin', basically. And they were
whoa.
like...
If somebody wrote... If on local bands somebody said, this is bussin'. Stephen King said, this is bussin'.
What if it was like... John Grisham.
John Grisham said this is
like
bussin'.
James Patterson, yeah. Wait, the James Patterson? Like, yeah, dude, he said it was bussin'. Like, whoa.
Ferocious is a good word for this. I like ferocious.
Yeah.
I know that the Necronomicon, it may not be named until the second movie, but I think that's right. That concept is from Lovecraft, I believe. Mm-hmm. Speaking of authors.
Shout out Tom Clancy.
Tom Clancy said, this is bussin'. Have you guys seen... You've seen all the trilogy. You've seen...
Yeah.
I've just seen the first 2.
Oh, Army of Darkness is awesome.
I really like it.
He thinks I like it the most because...
I feel like that's up Logan's alley, yeah.
And then there's the remake, which I did not like.
I have not seen it.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen it.
There's a remake of this, and it is a lot.
It seems like it's just the boring version of this movie. Is that correct?
Eli Roth version.
Oh, no.
Wait, did he actually...
No.
Oh, okay.
Cabin in the Woods. No, Cabin Fever.
Cabin, yeah.
Well,
Cabin in the Woods was good.
Yeah.
Cabin
was
Fever was
fine.
not, so...
Isn't Bruce Campbell in it for a sec?
I don't know.
I don't remember. Oh, no.
If you can't remember if Bruce Campbell was in the movie, that's not a good sign for the movie.
He probably was. He probably was. He's a guy,
I got some things to say about Bruce Campbell.
Go for it.
We both do, yeah.
Nice things, yeah.
Only nice things, yeah. Well, one, apparently behind the scenes, people didn't really get along with Sam too well, which is okay. I think he was just, 20 and trying to make this batshit movie, in like the worst conditions, because they were all like freezing to death in this cabin. They were like burning the furniture after they crashed. After they fell on Bruce, they would just throw it in the fireplace. But what was I just talking about before that?
Bruce Campbell.
Podcast, Bruce Campbell. It's so much harder than it sounds. Bruce Campbell, he scooped the manure. Yeah, so he was just like, he was very cool on set and like, off screen, and then I don't know. He's just great. I think he's great because he looks like a guy that like would be like macho, you know, but also full of shit. You know, like you know, like he just looks exactly like what his character like developed to be. You know, where it's like, yeah, this guy could be, you know, like machismo or whatever, but then it's like totally not. He's got like a softer edge. So, like you kind of that's why, especially in the later movies, you can buy him both as like the Three Stooges schlub, and also like when he goes into like badass mode, you know, it's still believable, I think.
Also, you didn't explain the scooping the manure, because that's not an expression. That's
also not in the movie.
well, yeah. I mean, I thought you were going to explain that. Basically, they showed up, and the cabin that they were supposed to film at was like, I think it was destroyed, right? Yeah. And so they found this one, and it was just covered in manure. And then Bruce Campbell was like, "I got it. Like nobody else worry. Like, yeah." So yeah, and I guess he was just really good for morale on set, and some of the shots where they're supposed to look dismembered, he was like, they didn't want to go through the floorboards because they're filming, you know, these arms through the floorboards supposed to look like, you know, floating arms, because apparently like rats would run through and spiders, and so he would put on like the woman's clothes and, you know, pretend to be. So he was just doing a lot on set. And in the documentary I watched, everyone just had really nice things to say about him. Not as much Mr. Raimi.
Samuel, if you will. Yeah, Bruce Campbell, like, he looks like a stud. Like his I like the cut of his jib, you know.
Apparently every girl in this movie had a crush on him. Do you remember that? Yeah. They were talking about how like when they got hired for the movie, they were all hoping to be his girlfriend. Like they were all hoping to be the counterpart to him.
Yeah.
What are the rules here? What are the rules of this movie?
The rules? I don't think there are. That's kind of the fun part.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no discernible rules that I can make out.
Well, because I mean, Dan asked this question as on the screen a deadite, right? Is that what they're actually called in the series? They don't.
Yeah.
A deadite picks up the Kandarian dagger, and like I thought the whole thing was like if they touch that, like they, you know, it's like the cross with like a vampire or whatever, you know. But then, you know, she's out here like biting her own hand off at the moment. That seems pretty gross.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. When she bites her own hand off. Well, you know, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. What just came to mind, her chewing her own arm off. This is not related to anything. We can cut it. I was watching It's Always Sunny, and it was the water park episode where he talks about the woman chewing through her prolapsed anus sitting on the little suction thing at the bottom of the pool. That's all I could think of. That was just a comment.
You know, that sounds like a scene from The Evil Dead. So
It
I think you
does.
guys could leave that in, maybe.
They need to have an Evil Dead at a water park.
Evil Dead.
That'd be amazing.
Have you seen that movie where it's like about a water park and a slide that someone shoved a bunch of swords in?
What? What's that called?
I forgot what it's called. It's probably called Slide or some shit.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, so it's this park. It's like all this like teenager drama. You know, it's classic like a bunch of 27-year-olds playing like I'm in high school. And they go to the like every year like the senior graduation like happens at this local water park. I think it's Canadian. And, you know, there's the one water slide that everyone goes down. And someone, like, I don't know who, but someone stuck a bunch of swords in this, this part of the water slide you can't, because it's one of those tube ones, you know, that twist around a whole lot.
Okay.
And someone stuck swords in it, so when people go down, they just get fucking obliterated by these swords, and, like, their pieces come out on the other side.
I'm so excited
And
about
so,
this.
like 8 people go down it without anyone, like, you know, realizing. So then a lot of the rest of the movies, people like they'll get pushed down the slide by the killer. I don't know how, and they're like no, like trying to climb back up the slide, but then they fall in. No. And they get chopped to pieces.
I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, I had no idea what the name of that movie is. I'm so sorry, but I've seen a lot about
fantastic.
that. Aqua Slash. Yeah, this got to be it. That looks like it.
What? It's Canadian. It's Canadian.
This is wait, when did it come out? 2019?
Wait, go.
Yeah, it's a recent one. I think it was something that was
Oh.
dumped on, you know.
Yeah, what service?
VOD.
Is it on a service?
How do you say that?
It's got to be on Amazon.
Do you see that name right there?
Folks at home, I looked up water park slide with swords, and Aqua Slash was the second result. It's on Showtime.
What?
It's on Showtime.
Is it on Showtime After Dark or something? Like, I don't...
YouTube TV.
It's not on Tubi, so we might have to scrap it from the recommendation.
Yeah, we are
list.
sponsored by Tubi, so as sad as this might be, you are not allowed to watch Aquaslash, folks. I was in a pitching class at school this year, and I feel like if I had pitched that, I would have fucking slayed.
Can you give us what your pitch for Evil Dead would be? Like if you're Sam Raimi or Bruce Campbell or those guys, based on your class experience.
Oh man. So you have to open with like a good hook, right?
Okay.
So you're like, how many of you have been hurt by a tree?
I was thinking the same.
Well, apparently in the documentary that I was watching, they like most of that was in post. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. So the girl who is in the tree incident went to the premiere with her mother and had no idea because a lot of it was in post. So she was like, "Yeah, that was cool."
This movie might be cursed.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that like that kind of thing doesn't show up in another Raimi movie or in like this franchise. So it's not like a weird thing he has, like with feet.
Didn't he say he like regretted putting it in there?
Yeah, he also said
I
that,
read
yeah.
that when I was doing my very little research for this.
Yeah. But I don't know if that because that's the actress. I don't know, in the documentary we watched, like, so the three female leads in this movie, none of them went on to be like professional actors, and I feel like this retrospective was like their first chance to speak on the movie for real in like 25 years. And some of them, this was like the movie that convinced them to not be in like the movie business, because it fucking sucked filming this. It was terrible, like the conditions. And
Don't get into the movie business, folks.
yeah. So like they were talking mad shit. Like the whole documentary is pretty entertaining, because they were just like, pretty honest about it. But that scene, I forgot what I was going to say, but I'll just leave it at that.
The scene where she's running through the woods she's just running on plywood. They just laid out like really thin plywood, so she's having to run barefoot in I think she's wearing like a t-shirt and underwear, and it's like they said every day was like 40 degrees or less. And so like she's cutting up her foot. Like I just think, those conditions were pretty wild.
Part of me like loves the story of like a bunch of people went up to a cabin. It was really cold. They shoveled shit and just ran around with the camera.
I have a question. Do you think that there's any bit of that instilled in the film, like the performance, like any of their like, they're all sleeping in the same crappy cabin. There's no heat. There's nothing. Do you think any of that like stress and bad experience that they're having is in the film?
Yeah, I mean it's like a hot and heavy movie. It's like I feel like that's like the whole thing, the whole energy of it. I feel like in general, like you won't see that as much, but in just movies in general, like people would be like, you always hear like, oh, they fucking hated this guy. They hated Sam Raimi or whatever. Like, this feels like to me, like people were doing their jobs. I mean, like, right. He was probably demanding a lot, but then also you have, I assume, all these people were very, very committed to this project in a way of like, I want to be a movie star.
Yeah.
And it's like obvious that they went through it, because like there's a lot of makeup, there's a lot of like goofy shit of like, all right, can you sit on the ground and like wave your hands in the air and roll your eyes back in your head? So I don't know, but I love that energy. And like I said, like the fact that like so much of this is just this handheld like moving camera like craziness is like really cool to me, because I like that feeling and I like that aesthetic, and I like how it feels to imagine them just being like, all right, next one, you're gonna be your eyes are falling out of your face and you're bleeding from all of the orifices and you're gonna run through the door. Here we go. Like I'm like so anti like things on tripods that are moving really slow and nobody's doing anything. So I'm kind of like, I love that about this movie.
So this guy doesn't like Stanley Kubrick, I learned.
I fucking hate Stanley Kubrick.
So back to 2001.
So in 2001, the monkeys, so the monkey hit the guy, the monkey hit the other monkey, and then spaceships happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, the bone and the spaceship are both technology, right? Tools.
Can you use it in a sentence? Define technology.
I'm going to define technology for
Someone's
you.
calling me on my iPhone. Hold on. to speak to what Dan was saying about the the filmmaking experience, I think it's definitely the case where like, because a lot of people in the documentary that me and Logan both watched, like that was a 25-year retrospective kind of thing. You know, it was on the 2002 edition of the Evil Dead DVD. That's probably not commercially available anywhere. So like, I think a lot of people had some like really glowing things to say and like how appreciative they were of like Sam and like the process and stuff. Like now that it's a cult classic and like super influential, I think at the time, like some of the actors might have been like they thought no one was ever gonna see it, like all this stuff, and then it's like the goriest, craziest shit ever. But I think generally, I don't think whatever they thought of Sam, I don't think he was really like an asshole. I think it's like you were saying, like he was getting the movie done, and it was more like it seems more like Bruce was kind of like the, let's chill out, everybody. I'll shovel some manure, and he had the worst shit done to him, probably. At least consistently.
These bookcases.
Yeah, bookcases. A lot of chocolate syrup cannons to the face.
Oh, when the head comes off and it's just like spraying all over him. I love that.
That's so funny. Like I really think
it's hilarious.
Yeah. But I can understand being terrified also.
It's scary. It can be scary and funny. And that's what I like is that it's both all the time, and that's the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just think it's a fun bounce to find that and have both work simultaneously without it coming off as like trying too hard to be either. Because a lot of movies that try to be two things at once, it just fails at both.
Yeah.
I can't think of any specific examples now that I say that.
Well, there's a movie, Creep, that's not on Tubi. It's on Netflix. Have you seen that movie, Dan? Okay. It's like that movie. Like I watched it as a teenager in high school, and it was like that movie was crazy. It was so scary. I didn't know what was gonna happen. And then I watched it with my brother, and within like 10 minutes, he was like losing his shit laughing. And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Dude, this movie is hilarious. Like, thanks for showing it to me." And I was like, it's not what I intended, but I'm glad he liked it.
That movie, I think, particularly is like uncomfortable.
Yes.
And people deal with the discomfort in those two different ways. It's like I think I love it. I want to like in like a Nathan Fielder situation, because I have people in my life who refuse to watch Nathan Fielder. They're just like, I will not, or like even like people who are like, I will not watch The Office.
I'm kind of like that at this point.
The
Office is good. I just like I don't think I'm gonna sit down and watch all of it. I digress.
I love it. I love discomfort, and the Creep was a really good one because that's just I think they really hit it on the head to the point where it was horrific but also hilarious.
Yeah. Because he was like, there's the bathtub scene. I don't want to harp on this too much, but like the bathtub scene, like I feel like that's the point where you're either like, this guy is crazy, or you're like, this is so funny.
Yeah.
Because like the main antagonist is like naked in a bathtub and like singing rubby-dubby songs. Yeah.
It's Mark Duplass.
Yeah, the League guy.
Yeah.
Never watched the League.
Oh,
but I have seen
I have seen Evil Dead
and 2001: A Space Odyssey.
So you're good for this conversation. So then the spaceships fly around. They go to the moon.
And then it goes.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I'm just gonna throw shoehorn in there because we kind of touched about the camera work and stuff already. The use of like POV to make, because like I feel like any other like director, like his age, this generation, actually probably any other like amateur filmmaker, this movie would be like, all right, so now like all this stuff just happened. Now we're talking in the cabin. It would just be static, like reverse shot, like of just them standing against one of these boring ass like walls. Like, what are we gonna do? Like anyone cares about the words they're saying in like a movie where everything's gonna happen.
Dumb, dialogue's dumb.
Yeah, exactly. So like, but in this movie, instead, like he uses like the POV to like really shake that. Like we get the POV of Cheryl in the dungeon and like all these different cool shots that like make scenes of just like, I'm so scared, Ashley. Like in every movie, make it like we're still like locked in because something visually interesting and like original is happening rather than just like being forced to watch like. Not that anyone's bad at acting in this movie, but like in the typical B movie, like non-actors be like, oh my God, I think my other point that I wanted to bring up was the fact, because I kind of also talked about this in my introduction of the movie, of like how I knew about it. Like back in the day, this has like, if you Google this, it has an NC-17 rating, which is kind of wild because compared, like, I don't know, like we were talking about Hereditary before this, like that's way grosser than this movie, I think personally. Sam Raimi, some people, I don't know, one of his producers claimed in the documentary that Evil Dead 2 was a comedy because this movie, like a straight up comedy, because this movie got so much shit, like legally. Like he went on trial for obscenity in England over this movie because, it was like made by the devil. So he made the second one a comedy so it'd be more like palatable,
Yeah.
There's more chainsaws in the second movie, so I like the second movie
For
more.
sure.
I'm not gonna lie. More chainsaws. Yeah, chainsaws. Also, I think this premise lends itself better to comedy, but that's why I think the first movie is really funny, whether they meant it or not. I laugh at it.
But Army of Darkness has the most skeletons of all of them, and
That
I
is
love
true.
skeletons.
I do love stop motion skeletons, especially. Jason and the Argonauts.
Hell yeah.
Should have made Logan watch that one. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I love Evil Dead, but I don't think Logan would like that movie. So
Tommy, you have skeleton thoughts?
Ooh, skeleton thoughts. If we want to talk about The Shining, I have a skeleton thought about The Shining. My least favorite scene in my favorite movie is when Wendy's walking through the hotel and all the spooky things are happening, and there's one point where she walks into a room and it's just skeletons, and it's like the cheesiest fucking thing in the world. After all these genuinely unsettling visuals, she walks into a room and it's just like skeletons. I think it's dumb.
I don't know if this is gonna make.
I think I'm anti-skeleton.
Can we? Well, one, that's listen, okay.
The end of this show.
Yeah, listen. We all have. There's a skeleton in you right now. All right.
Yeah, and it's all wet and gross. I don't like that.
Wow. I want to look this Shining scene up because I don't remember that at all. I don't remember skeletons whatsoever.
It's super brief. It's like she's running down
proof.
that super red
Well, yeah, and
hallway.
she sees George Bush and like that whole thing. There's
George
like,
Bush fucking the bear.
Yeah, there's like 19 million conspiracy theories about, or like just theories, I guess, about what that means.
Stanley Kubrick called George Bush in the 80s.
Is it? Wait, what? Is
Oh,
that?
no, that's not
oh,
real.
okay, because like it could be. I mean, apparently that movie is a confession that he faked the moon landing.
Oh, yeah.
Because duh, he wears an Apollo sweater.
Yeah, there's one thing that points toward it, so it has to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I detected sarcasm, but that's the belief that my entire belief system is based on. So.
Okay, no, it's further in. We're pulling up The
pirating
Shining right
movies.
now to find this scene. Okay, I think it cuts back to Wendy, and then she's about to see some skeleton. Yep, here we go.
Here we go, folks.
Skeletons.
Skeleton watch. That's not even scary.
No, it's not. It's genuinely not scary, and everything else about this was scary.
Okay, you know what? I think I see.
Scary. I'd be scared if I saw that.
I totally forgot about that. Well, I just like how she walks into like a room with cobwebs, like we don't even see the skeletons yet. She's like, "Oh my god," like she didn't even.
Yeah, no, that was a weird cut.
Yeah, it's like you just saw George Bush sucking a bear's, member, and now you're walking to an empty cobweb, drenched lobby. You're like, "Oh my god, spiders!"
I don't know. As a fan of skeletons, I'm cool with that scene. Yeah, Logan liked it.
Do you guys?
Anyway,
oh god.
so The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
I got too caught up in skeleton discourse.
I love Evil Dead. Second time watching it, slapped so much harder than the first time. Now that I have more context for Raimi, I think it's cool, again, seeing those through lines throughout his entire career. That he's always just been a weirdo making gross shit. And I think that's really admirable. Being a weirdo making gross shit. That's what I aspire to.
Yeah. I also had like I said, much better experience with this movie this time. And I was thinking that sometimes I try to think about if I was a film professor and I had to design a course, like a 101 about production and like style and vision and stuff. I think this is one I would include. I feel like it's inspiring. It's very like scrappy and just to the point and strong. Just strong visually and strong from a directorial sense. And yeah, it was really cool. I was jamming. And pure. Good old-fashioned DIY filmmaking. Woo!
Yeah. Do you have wrapping thoughts?
Can you wrap them?
Can you...
Can you wrap your thoughts? My name
No.
is Andrew, and I'm here to say I like Evil Dead in a spooky way.
I watched the whole video about how where the I'm so and so and I'm here to say is actually from a Flintstones Fruity Pebble commercial.
What?
Yeah, like
It's the best opening rap bar in history.
because there's there's a line from Rapper's Delight that's almost that but not quite, and then they change it in the Flintstones commercial. Yeah, exactly. So I really do love this movie. I will say a thing I forgot to mention earlier, that kind of all over the place right now, but I feel like in this movie you don't really get. It's cool because like you can see there is like definitely like a DIY edge to it, but also like the beginnings of like Sam Raimi and like Bruce Campbell who go on to like do like larger budget things and have just different kind of stuff, but you get one glimpse of like the future Bruce Campbell because I'm a fan of Burn Notice. I forgot to say that. That's a part of my attachment to this movie and Bruce is that I grew up watching Burn Notice before I knew about any of this shit. Have you guys ever seen that show?
No.
Classic show on USA starring him and Jeffrey Donovan. Jeffrey Donovan, mad underrated actor. So they're both like B movie and like TV actors that like never broke into that leading thing. This is taking too long. But you get one glimpse of like future Ash / Bruce Campbell, which is when Linda's talking to him while he's listening to the Necronomicon, and she says something, and he's like, "Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. Not now." And it's like the one, like everything else is like not really Ash in this movie. You know what I mean? Other than like being scared, but there was just that one moment of flipping, just like, "Yeah, sure." Good movie. Like it. 10 out of 10.
I give it a 10 out of 10 too.
You're bumping it up from.
Yeah. Well, 10 out of 10 here and then 4.5 on Letterboxd. Those translate to the same thing.
Got to keep it low on
Purely-
Letterboxd to be cool.
Purely on entertainment value, it's 5 stars. Like it's fun, and it's really paranoid, which I like. Like I feel like Bruce Campbell plays that so well, and especially in the second one. Yeah, I mean it has every element I like. It's scary, it's funny, and then it's super chaotic, and it's DIY. I mean, I'm not sure what more you could want.
Just like the Trenchies. Check them out on Spotify. Naive now streaming. Who can say when this episode's going to come out? But you'll have new music.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hopefully. I mean, there's no way of telling.
We're making a movie called Skeleton Watch.
Fuck yeah.
Which is us just watching movies and seeing if they have skeletons in them.
Oh, dude.
The Trenchies were
You're
like
focused
okay.
on Skeleton Watch now?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Have you seen the radio interview of Billy Bob Thornton where they
Yep.
ask? Yep, they introduce him as an actor, and he's like there to promote his band. He's like, and he just doesn't speak like the whole
It's like
time.
the Santa Claus bit, and I think you should leave.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where we're at right now.
Dude, I haven't thought about that in so long, but when you did that just now, I thought about that, and I was like, oh, yeah. Remember when Billy Bob Thornton didn't want to talk about acting?
way
he Yeah.
handled it too was so bad.
What a weird guy, man.
Do you think Billy Bob is in any movies that also feature skeletons? Leave a comment.
He's in A Simple Plan.
Yeah, does that have a skeleton in the plane? I think it does.
When are they in the plane?
Also Sam Raimi.
Skeleton. Oh my God! Everything connects.
What the
Oh,
fuck?
that is maybe my. Okay, so
It's really cool.
Skeleton Watch episode 2 does. It all connects.
It's a new podcast out on Ox
There's-
Audio.
There's a podcast within a podcast within a podcast right now.
We're into the Patreon.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
big.
This is bonus content for the
Extended,
patrons,
yeah.
yeah.
Where were we?
Oh, the Trenchies. That's what we were talking about. Your band.
Gonna try and make this clean. To cut. Yeah, so the Trenchies will have new music soon. If you follow us at the Trenchies on Instagram or on Spotify. And we may or may not have new music. Well, as the time of this recording, we have one song. So if there's more than one song on our Spotify, that makes us very happy.
Yeah.
And we're glad that you can hear it. But if not, there will be very soon because it's mostly recorded. So
It's called Naive, and it's also on Tommy Kessler's The Wiener Tape.
yes, indeed.
Thank you. Hey, do you like charity and gay people? You should buy the Wiener Tape because all the proceeds are going to Brave Space Alliance, the first trans-led, black-led LGBTQ plus organization in the South Side. It's on Bandcamp. It's called the Wiener Tape. Trenchies are on it. Other people that you might know. It's a good time.
And there are no skeletons on it.
There are no skeletons on it.
That might be. Listen, if that's a deal breaker for you, still, the donation matters. But I mean, I know there's no skeletons.
Didn't you do like? I could be wrong, but didn't you do a remix of a Cut Your Losses song, and the cover has
The
skeletons
cover had
on it?
skeletons.
So now we all look stupid.
Now,
And now you do like skeletons because your
damn.
name is on
And also,
that.
I made alternate artwork where I was standing on top of the bean, which was crushing skulls.
All right, I would like to apologize for claiming a lack of skeletons on the Wiener Tape. So now the Wiener Tape not only is for a good organization and has good music, but it has skeletons on it. So
Community pro skeleton. What more could you want?
literally nothing else other than more skeletons, probably.
And this concludes Skeleton Watch.
Thank you guys for having us. It's been appreciate it. Do you guys do that? I don't know. 'Cause I listened to. Was that good? Was that the right?
Good, yeah.
Okay. Okay, we gotta pretend we didn't interrupt that. Fuck. Fuck. It was so natural before, and then you were like, oh.
No, you did it.
No. Okay.
You're okay.
You gotta say something for me to bounce off of again.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate it. It was cool. You guys got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, personally, I liked the Shining Skeleton scene.
Yeah.
And I also liked Evil Dead 1981, directed by Samuel Raimi. Samuel Raimi. Samuel Raimi.
Once I hand this to you, you probably won't hand it back. So, make it count, all right?
I just realized that I'm not gonna do it. Okay. Raimi. Sam Raimi is the same as the mouse from Ratatouille.
I knew you were gonna say that. I regret passing you the mic. Is there,
Are the Trenchies breaking up right now?
we'll talk about it in the car right now. It's gonna be very quiet.
The answer is yes, Dan. You heard it here on this podcast.
Oh, okay.
Thank you guys for having us.
Oh, thank you.